60,000. That is the approximate number of children sleeping behind bars every night in the United States. It's a national trend called the school-to-prison pipeline, where children as young as 12 are funneled out of public schools and into the juvenile and criminal justice systems. Jermaine was only 16 when he was incarcerated. He spent 26 years behind bars. These images are all too familiar to him.
It just brings back so many memories, like, of me just being, and I just left over a year ago, so it's like wow, like, this is actually my life a couple of years ago.
One of the most disturbing memories was being held alone in solitary confinement.
They paint the cells white. It's like a form of torture and need lights on all day. So he's basically blocking himself from the lights. That's what he don't want to be.
Jermaine plans to launch a program called GAP, the Gangs in Prison Prevention Program, and is training at the Institute for Transformative Mentoring, ITM, a program for formerly incarcerated men and women to become mentors to keep youth out of jail. Five Muallamak is director of the youth program. He himself spent 12 years in prison, 5 of those years in solitary confinement for a nonviolent offense. The photos that cover the walls of his office remind him of how far he's come, but also how much more needs to be done, especially for children behind bars.
Here you have a child in isolation. He's 12 years old, and he's only there because he got into a fight in school. And so the immediate response is to take him from the school and then incarcerate him into a solitary or solitude situation where there's no other person around. He's 15. And so because of his reaction to solitary, they removed the bed, removed the blanket, removed the pillow, and he's just stuck there hiding from the light, trying to force his days away, waiting for his meal.
The United States incarcerates more of its youth than any other country in the world through the juvenile courts and the criminal justice system. And racial disparity plays a role. According to the Sentencing Project, as of 2015, African American youth were 5 times more likely than white youth to be detained.
You see kids facing themselves at court. This child is like 13 years old, but he has to appear to court with a legal guardian and sort of face trial himself. And then you have a typical jail school where the officers are in the school, which also mirrors our current school system. So they sort of normalize to it, right?
Jermaine's very first encounter with the justice system also started when he was in school.
Well, my first time having any contact with the justice system was, I want to say, between 12 and 13, a fight in school.
Then at 16, he fatally shot a man and was prosecuted as an adult.
At the age 16, they said they could prosecute you as an adult for any crime, which is funny because I can't vote till I'm 18. I can't drive a car or drink till I'm 21. So it's like a catch-22. Like you could charge me for a crime when I'm 16 years old, a kid, but I can't go off the wall or vote or do these things till I'm a certain age. So it's like a gift and a curse.
Marcus was only 13 years old when he was arrested by the police. After a school fight, he was taken from the principal's office straight to jail. At the police station, he was handcuffed to a pole in a tiny cell for 9 hours before he was allowed to contact his mother.
That was my first time ever being that scared, because I didn't know what was going to happen to me. I didn't know if I was really going to go to jail, if I was just going to be processed. I didn't know what to think at that time. I was so young, I just didn't know if I was ever going to go home. And I'm just sitting in this precinct hooked up to a bar, not knowing what's going to happen next.
Recently, at the age of 20, he was sent to New York's notorious Rikers Island prison facility on charges of weapons possession and spent time alongside inmates 2 or 3 times his age. Being a cellmate with them was not uncommon. Once out of prison, real-life challenges like finding a job or a place to live become roadblocks for Marcus and many others like him. He wants to change that. He is involved in the Raise the Age campaign, which calls for an age-appropriate approach to crimes committed.
We're trying to raise the age because kids are 14, 13, like you said, being convicted as adults, having to go to jail for little things as a school fight, when that's supposed to be just a suspension in school.
America's mass incarceration costs over $182 billion every year. And for many privatized facilities and companies, that's big business. Every inmate then becomes a dollar sign.
So the more that you incarcerate youth, the more you can get longer sentences out of them, the more you can get longer time, right? We pay more than anywhere on the planet Earth for incarceration right here in New York State. We pay over $200,000 per person in city jails and in juvenile facilities. That's a high amount of money, being that we have the nation's largest amount of people in prison in this country, starting with New York State at the top.
In New York City, the cost of juvenile detention is $620 per day, the most expensive in the country. Grassroots campaigns to end youth imprisonment call for credible alternatives to incarceration, like rehabilitation programs. And programs like ITM hope to help youth avoid the criminal justice system altogether. Susan Madaris, USA Really, New York.